Good morning. Oh my goodness, we're back again. It's Friday Coffee Talks episode 49, coming to you live from Atlanta, Georgia, the home of your. Can you see it there? Oh, it's on this side. 2021 World Series champion Atlanta Braves. Shout out to Mom. Thanks for the coffee mug. Love you, Mom. Merry Christmas. Hope you all had a wonderful Christmas. Hope you all got the best presents from Santa. This coffee mug is the top of my list. Can't say that. My wife watches this. I got great presents. I got great presents from Santa. I digress. I'm digging myself a hole here. This Christmas was amazing. It was, I hesitate to say that it wasn't anything special because that sounds really negative, but we were all home together this Christmas. And for those of you that don't know, I missed last Christmas. My oldest daughter got diagnosed with epilepsy and had her first seizure last Christmas. So her and I spent all of Christmas together in the hospital. And that's actually what we're going to talk about today. So let me go back real quick before I leave something negative. There is nothing bad about this Christmas. In fact, I think it was probably the best one I've ever had. And I think the reason was, even though there wasn't anything like over the top or crazy or, just like insanely special, just the fact that I valued being here and valued being with my family and with my kids so much more this Christmas because of what happened last year. So it was a great one. I had a fantastic Christmas and I hope all of you did as well. Let's go back. Let's step in the time machine. Let's go back to last Christmas. I've talked about it a little bit on here, especially when I was first getting started because it was kind of fresh. But today I'm going to tell you the story of last Christmas for me and my daughter Fallon. So she was on here last week. She's a cutie patootie. She was 3 years old at the time. It was Christmas Eve. We were at my in-laws and we were like just about to sit down for Christmas Eve dinner. And she had a seizure out of nowhere. She had never had one before. None of us had ever dealt with anything like this before. And it was wild. It went from, normal Christmas, everything as it should be, kind of quote unquote. And all of a sudden she starts having a seizure and everything got upended real quick. We had Savannah, who was 2 weeks old at the time. It was the peak of COVID, like couldn't get any more COVID going on up in there. And we're talking OG COVID, not any of this Omicron, Delta stuff. We're talking, original COVID. And she had a seizure. So we called the ambulance. Fally and I got to take a little ambulance ride to Scottish Rite, and everyone was so great. I'm going to say that at the very beginning. Everybody that we dealt with, EMTs, doctors, nurses, staff at the hospital, everybody was wonderful. So that was great. But we got a little Christmas Eve ride, me and her, down to Scottish Rite. We intercepted Santa's radio communication on the way there. They played it through the ambulance for us, which was really cool. She got really excited to hear about Santa and his arrival plans and all that stuff. We got to Scottish Rite. They did some tests. We were there for, an hour or so. And they were like, yeah, it looks like she just had a seizure. Like, that just happens sometimes. And as a parent, I was kind of like, well, that is a little nerve-wracking, but okay. And they were like, yeah, we're just going to go home, send you home. You guys kind of take a look at her. They were getting our paperwork together. And the nurse went to hand me the discharge papers, and she had another seizure right there. And so she immediately pulled her hand back, ripped the papers in half, and said, you guys aren't going anywhere. So not what we wanted to hear on Christmas Eve. More importantly, not what we wanted to happen to our daughter. So at that point, they admitted us, and I will never forget rolling down the hospital in her little bed they had her in, and walking down this hallway and seeing the letters on the wall that said Epilepsy Monitoring Unit. At the time, that was the worst thing that I could have read. In my mind, for whatever reason, I was trying to kind of play defense a little bit, and I kept telling myself, like, this is just the thing that happens. She had a seizure. We're going to get some medicine. Everything's going to be cool. Like, no big deal. And when I walked down that hallway with her down to her room, and I saw the word epilepsy, like in 3D letters on the wall, it scared the mess out of me. That was, I burst into tears and like immediately. I've never been that scared in my life. Like, the word epilepsy was the most terrifying thing I could think of in that moment. So anyways, we got settled in. Our family was great. They packed up a bag for me. They packed up a plate of Christmas Eve dinner. and they brought it all to the hospital. Santa even was kind enough to drop off some of Fallon's presents at the hospital. So anyways, through that night, I didn't sleep at all. The nurses said, yeah, go to sleep. Like, we've got monitors on her. And my dad brain said, nope, that's not happening. So I just sat up all night and just watched her. She had 3 more seizures that night, and every one of them was scary and terrifying, and didn't like that at all. But then they kind of got her on medicine and got things under control a little bit. And so we spent Christmas Day there. She opened some presents. The staff at the hospital was wonderful to help little girls in the hospital over Christmas to not feel like they were missing out. And then, so on Christmas Day, the neurologist came in, and they'd done a CT scan, and they said, hey, looks like she might have a brain tumor. Like, literally, I think that was the words they said, like, very straight to the point. It was like, there's a abnormal spot on her brain, and we want to look at it closer, and it might be a brain tumor. And I was like, what? Like, just totally out of left field. Could not have thought any less about that being a possibility. So that wasn't fun. Spent the rest of that day just a mess. Again, this was the height of COVID, and visitors were prevented. Savannah, our infant, wasn't allowed in at all. So Mandy really couldn't come. She came and spent a couple hours that afternoon with Fallon and like helped her take a shower and things like that and brushed her hair to give me a break. But for the most part, it was just me and her. So I don't know if I've ever felt more alone in my life. We had a wonderful community of people who were calling and texting and Facebook posting and all this kind of stuff. And we're so grateful for that. But I don't think there's any substitute for having people along for that ride with you. So there were some dark moments in that hospital room, just to be completely transparent with you. My brain went to some scary places that weekend. Just me and my little girl sitting in the hospital room and thinking that she might have a brain tumor. There's nothing worse. I can't think of anything worse. So conveniently it was Christmas Day, so the MRI techs were not there, so we had to wait till the next morning. As scary as that day was, the next day was so, I can't even put a word on it. It wasn't great, but it was inspiring in one of the most powerful ways I've ever experienced. So the next morning we went to get her MRI so they could get like a better picture of her brain. And Fallon, my little 3-year-old little warrior girl, they roll up to her room at like 7 a.m., woke her up. They have a little wheelchair there for her. And they're like, all right, Fallon, we're going to go take some pictures. Do you want to get in this wheelchair? And she's like, nope. And she basically like pushes the wheelchair out of the way. She goes and grabs her little shoes. She straps them on under her hospital gown, zips those blippy shoes on tight. And she's like, let's go. She grabs my hand and she just marches through the hospital. For some reason, we were like the opposite end of the hospital. So we had a long walk. And the whole way there, I am a blubbering mess. My face is red. I'm crying everywhere, trying not to let her see because I wanted her to be brave. But golly, she was giving me all the strength. She grabbed my hand and she just marched like there was nothing wrong in the world. Everybody she saw, she's like, oh, hey, what's up? Like totally chill, like not an ounce of fear in her. And she walked into that MRI machine and she laid down and they hooked her up her little IV. And she got a little nervous as she was like kind of laying in the machine of like, oh, wow, this is kind of big. But they put her under anesthesia and she was out. And so I got to go eat breakfast by myself while she was getting the MRI done. And God bless the people in the cafeteria at Scottish Rite that morning, because there was a big old dad just sobbing in the corner while he ate hash browns and bacon. And nobody bothered me. So that was very nice. But just waiting for the results of that test, which all the anxiety in me was telling me like, you're a couple hours away from them telling you that your daughter has a brain tumor. So that was that. And I came back and picked her up from getting the MRI done. We went back to her room, and then like an hour later, the neurologist came in and she goes, everything's cool. what? They're like, yeah, no, it was just a spot in her brain that hasn't quite grown into yet. Everything is as it should be. She's just a little girl with epilepsy. And the transformation of that word from the 2 days before, as we were coming into the hospital and seeing the word epilepsy being the scariest thing that I could think of, to 2 days later, having been through all we'd been through and all the extra tests and everything, to them telling me, yeah, your daughter has epilepsy, to that being such a relief. I can't explain that feeling. I mean, I don't want to downplay epilepsy. I mean, obviously people suffer from it and it's extremely more common than I thought initially. But to have a diagnosis that seemed manageable of, hey, we can get some medicine, we can go to some appointments, we can monitor, we can, there's a way to help get through this, was just such a weight, such a relief, such an answered prayer, honestly, of just like, oh, this is something that we can deal with. And so yeah, it was great. I mean, they were like, she has epilepsy, go home now. And yeah, that day was a whirlwind. The whole weekend was a whirlwind, but the other side of that is we came home and my family was there and they'd brought gifts and we got to kind of do the Christmas thing there. But Fallon and I missed Christmas. We time warped right through that holiday. We were at the moment when Christmas essentially begun, right on Christmas Eve. And then we got out 3 days later and had missed all the family celebrations. We'd missed all the food. We'd missed everything. And so this season, kind of coming back to where I started this year, it made Christmas just so much more special. I've always loved Christmas, but to go through that and then to be around this year, I can't tell you how many times over the last week I just kind of sat down and I was just like, remember all of this, like take this all in, because I was so happy just to be here, be a part of it, to not have to think about epilepsy at that moment, to not have an IV in my daughter's arm, all that stuff. It just made me so grateful for the normalcy of this Christmas. And that may sound silly, but it made me really treasure this season. And so, all that to say, we really enjoyed our Christmas season. I'm very proud to say that as of a couple days ago, Fallon is 1 year seizure free. So medicine is a wonderful thing. Doctors are amazing. Shout out to the people at CHOA, at Scottish Rite, that have taken great care of our little girl. We've been in for regular checkups and everything is checking out well. So the prognosis is good. They say, what is it called? Juvenile epilepsy is a thing that's really, really common apparently. And a lot of times it happens like this, where you have an episode, they get medicine, kind of dialed in correctly, and that's that. So we're really crossing our fingers. They say if she goes 2 years without a seizure on the medicine, then we can say that she's probably out of the woods and that she can stop taking medicine. So 1 year down, 1 year to go. We're optimistic that we can knock that out next Christmas and move on from this. But for any of you that deal with epilepsy, I feel you. I've been there. I understand how tough it is. You guys are warriors, looking out for your kids or your family members or people that you know. And if you're looking for a great place to give your year-end giving today, it is New Year's Eve, the last day of the year. The Epilepsy Foundation does great work. They do great research, and I think they're tripling donations today. So if you're looking for a place, I believe it's epilepsy.org. Super worthy cause. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Thanks for hanging out with us this year. It's been a wonderful 2021. We look forward to Coffee Talks in 2022. As I said last week, we got some big plans. We've got some things in the works that I'm really excited about. And thanks for joining me. So enjoy your coffee. Have a great New Year's Eve tonight. Be safe, have fun, and we'll catch you guys next year.